folks. December 8th, 2022. Hobby Talk with PSA Canada. Brad was on a little bit of a roll. He was getting excited, and we were going to have the whole show, and none of you were going to see it. It's going to be great. But no, here we are. So we were able to go in. We're joined by Luke. Luke, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Excellent, excellent. How's the week treating you? All good on your side of things?
Yeah, busy. Busy, but not as crazy as last week, whatever. So, a little bit more relieved this week.
That's good. That's good. Things are progressing along. Good evening, Yannick. Absolutely. Hobby Cop. Good evening.
Oh,
Baz. Good evening. Nico K. Good evening. Absolutely. So we do have a couple of. So it's going to be kind of open forum a little bit. We've got a couple of things that we'll have a chance to talk about. I will I'll give you guys an update here that Brad just informed me that we were able to check out. So I'll actually be able to show you something. A couple of updates on the PSA Canada website. We talked about it a little bit before. I'll actually add it to the little scrolling thing here in a minute when it comes to it. And on the site itself, you're actually going to be able to start tracking now some of your own stuff. You can still ask the question. You're still welcome to ask the question, obviously. But at the same time, you'll also be able to, on your own time, if you want to go check it out with the order numbers. So that'll become more prevalent here going forward. As you're getting the order numbers, you'll actually be able to check now based on the order number to follow kind of your progress on your order as well. So it's a good little additional feature that adds a little bit of extra. So let's go in here. Bobby, good evening. Hakiaki99. Shocking that you'd ask about this question. Not like I told the guys, by the way, you might want to have an answer for this question. I've done a video on it, but we'll talk about it here in a minute. Hang tight. Is the bloom off the rose for Nat Turner? Now, that's more of an open-ended question. I like the question, but I'll talk about it after we get to the other one. So, Albert, good evening. Josh, absolutely good evening. So, let me quickly do the website reveal thing. We've shown the website before. If you haven't seen it, it's psacanada.ca. Straightforward, pretty simple. But I'll show it to you, but then I'll show you obviously the new feature to it. Was already on there before, but now it actually does something. So it'll actually help you a little bit with it. So you've got the same information as before. A lot of the FAQs and a lot of that, it's getting modified and updated as things are going along. But now you can click on the order status. Now I'm going to click on it and you're not going to see it, but I'll switch over to the other tab so you can see it after I do it. So I've clicked on it, but now I'm going to switch over to the other tab here. So if you click on that, it'll actually open it up in another window, which is great. That's actually a great thing. But then from here, you'll actually be able to see submission numbers. So going forward, you're going to start getting submission numbers. And as you get those, it actually lets you see for yourself what service level it is, when it was entered in the system, and then what section of the grading process it's in and when it's shipping. So you'll actually be able to get at least a little bit of a sense. If you need some specifics or have specific questions about it, you can still ask through the regular mechanisms and means. But in a pinch, if you're in the middle of the night having cold sweats going, oh my God, I forgot to ask, which section is it in? And you have the order number, well, you can actually pull it up here and it's on a Google Sheet that you can actually see for yourself. And again, you can verify with which service number it is as well, just to make sure. Like this is a ticket that somebody has, but keep in mind, it's a submission number. So it's not your name, it's not your address, it's not your personal info. As long as you know what your order submission number is and you can get it, then you know, oh, I've got a ticket. Oh, okay, so that's when it was submitted. Great. Shipping out as of December 3rd. Awesome. So that it's baby steps, but now it's a step forward in getting a little more information that you can access whenever.
Yeah,
Anything
and
you
it's
want to add to
good.
that one, Brett?
No, I think the other thing is too, you can, anyone that kind of likes a little bit of analytics side of things, you can scroll through and you can see, some of the orders, and you can ask the same questions that we ask, and sometimes we don't have an answer to. Like if you look at the very top, you can see an order. Let's even look at this, a value, September 6th. Mm-hmm. So you can see a value dual. It was entered on September 6th. It's still in the grading stage. It hasn't moved, hasn't gone anywhere. Mm-hmm. Then you can see other value duals that are already in shipping, mm-hmm, that were submitted either before or after. So there's lots of those questions. If you want to go in and look around, you can kind of see, you can see what we see. And then we try to figure it out from that standpoint as well. So
absolutely. So Eric here says, hey, good evening. Absolutely. Thank you, Yannick. Now, back to back, the important question. How do we obtain the submission number? So how do we get that?
Yeah, so we've kind of brainstormed on this, myself, Luke, Sherry, and Kevin as well. So how do you want to go about giving these out? So we accept the cards. Do we email every person their submission number? And I thought about it, and believe it or not, there's a lot of people that do want to follow it, but there's an awful lot of our regular customers that simply, they just know the process. When the cards come back, we invoice them, away we go. So for now, what we're going to do is simply just, you can put a request on tonight. Sherry's here live right now. So like Josh, Yannick, whoever has cards in there, if you want to do it, or privately, just email us and then we'll give you the submission number. Then you can track the progress on it. Mm-hmm. The other thing, we were going to update it. We were going to do it once a week, every Monday morning, update it. we're going to try. We're still working with PSA to try to link it so it will do it automatically, so it can just go in there. But this week we've already done it. Tonight's Thursday night, so I went through and I updated it 3 times this week already. So we're planning on doing it once a week, but if we do have some extra time, and especially when we're just getting started, I know how anxious people are. We want to keep things moving.
Absolutely. So that's the answer to your question. So for now, you can reach out directly and ask for it, and then you'll get it based on your information. If you want to reach out privately, you can do that, get the info, and then Sherry can provide and give you your submission number, and then you can follow along and just find yourself on the list and see where you are and see where things are moving along.
Yeah.
And then going forward, they'll have to work out some mechanism that makes sense for you to get your number. So probably at some point it'll become automated, and that'll make life easier for everybody, and you'll already have it, and then you can check it if you want to or ignore it if you want to.
Exactly.
Steve Jackson here. Good evening. Does PSA Canada offer autograph authentication for photos, etc.? Do you offer authentic autograph encapsulation for items like cuts, checks, etc.? So the PSA DNA stuff.
Yeah. So we're currently not doing that. We do tickets, and we do tickets and cards. Right now you can go to psacard.com and you can just go to PSA DNA and submit direct. That is something we're working on for 2023. We've talked about it numerous times. It's simply, from our standpoint, we like to accept everything, but logistically, once you open the door and we start accepting PSA DNA items, shipping those to Santa Ana, or New Jersey, kind of, someone wants to give us 20 football helmets and they want them authenticated. Well, we got to ship 20 football helmets to Santa Ana and back. How we're going to do that logistically and from a cost standpoint becomes difficult. So we are working on figuring out a way that we can do it. We just don't have the answer yet.
Sounds good. Not a problem. So there, Jeremy Paul. So if you get a chance to see that one, Sherry, try to help out a little information here. So let's take a look here. Good evening. Joe here. Sorry, but joined at the end of the conversation. How do you get in contact to get your PSA number? So you can message out. So there's a contact there on Instagram. Right now, if you want to ask for it, you can also do what Jeremy did a moment ago, and you can kind of ask here to get contact information so that the order number can be provided to you. The idea is so that your order number is private. So then that'll be a way of contact. And then also on the website, you've got contact info. So we'll have that included in there for sure. So let me go in here. Bear with me a second. I'm going to actually do one thing while we're actually talking. Bear with me. That way I can update it here. Let's go in here for 1 second. Let me up this here. Okay, there we go. So one thing I'm going to add here. So the little scrolling ticker there, it's also got the website, to the PSA Canada website now, so that you've got that as well. And you can check it out. And there's contact info on the PSA Canada website, so you can do that as well. And that's another avenue with which to reach out. So that'll help you. Yeah, and there's a Sherry there giving, we'll send it over via email because obviously you want your submission number for yourself. So I think that's important. So let's take a look here. Okay, so let me go in order. I know there's a couple of questions about that, so if you have any more about those, we can definitely do that. But let me go backwards. All right, Hagi wants to skip ahead to another one. Let's go in one order. Hagi always wants all the things. Let's do this one first. Okay, thought on PSA's NDA accusations. It's not accusations, they sent an NDA.
Yeah.
So actually, you got that one wrong. That's not an accusation. That's a hashtag fact. But
Yeah.
I covered it on my website. I covered it on my YouTube channel. But I want you guys to open it up if you have any thoughts about it. Just to encapsulate my thoughts. PSA is within its rights to ask that. From a customer service perspective, that is all. That is, there's some time reading the room a little bit. I also don't fault Ty from Bench Clear for being like, well, I've got a YouTube channel and I've got this platform and everything. I want to be able to talk about what I'm doing because that's kind of what we do here. We talk about the stuff we're doing. He also did give them a fair bit of time to have the chance to kind of go through their process. They had a chance to go look through a lot of those aspects of it. It's one of those things where I think it is an opportunity personally for PSA to kind of review their customer service thing. Because I've worked at companies that use this similar kind of thing. Do they have the right to ask? Sure. Is it the best case in every scenario? Do you have to have a little bit of judgment call to go like, does it make sense in this instance? I think that's a good thing, good takeaway for them to do. But like I said, every one of those businesses have to figure that out for themselves. I would take this as a lesson and go like, sometimes there are things where you're going to want to have an NDA that's legitimate, like a settlement or something like that. But if it's a customer service issue, you actually made a mistake, give them their money. In this case, they had agreed to the total. The issue wasn't that they weren't going to pay them. The issue was that they included this as part of the attached with, oh, in order to get your money, sign this. Open up for you guys.
Luke, do you want to go? I honestly, I don't have, to each his own. Everyone has their business practices. I can say I agree with it or disagree with it. In this case, I understand what I've seen. We're really not in a position to comment on it.
All right, Luke, you can also defer, but I leave it to you.
No, I agree with Brad. I think, I mean, like, yeah, it's a business, the way that they do the business, right? I mean, but I think what I've seen some of the people say is that should they have given him a little bit better treatment or whatever because he's a big influencer stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I agree 100% with that.
I'd be
I think
against it. Like, I understand the concept, but I wouldn't give him any special treatment. I do think,
yeah.
as a general rule, you do have, as from a customer service, the reason why I can be a little bit more forthcoming about this is that I literally answered this on the YouTube channel. So I'm being consistent with my own position. I've already put it out there. So I'm just reiterating what I've said already. So for me, it comes down to you have to, from a customer service perspective, there can be different streams. And that is a normal business practice. You get a ticket in, you discover like what is the situation? What's the problem here? An insurance claim is different than a customer service issue. In this case, they lost a card. So then you go, okay, so then there's this stream. This is what we had to do to figure out. It felt like there were a number based on the story and the timeline that he gave. It felt like there were a few too many people interjecting into the process, and it kind of slowed things down. And that's why I also wanted to call out that Chris Carlin, who was one of the folks that was mentioned on that, used to work at Upper Deck. And Chris Carlin has an excellent reputation in being in this kind of a section of the business. So it's something where maybe he, having the experience, might see that as an opportunity to be like, hey, we kind of dropped the ball on this one. Maybe we need to work on this process because it needs to improve for everybody across the board, not just the influencers. Although as an influencer, if you want to give me special treatment, go ahead. I'm just saying. But I think it's better practice just to give everybody a better experience and process across the board as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it before, and I will add this part in. Obviously, I like transparency. I really do. And I know PSA is, from what I gather with my conversations, they are going to be opening the doors up more, and they are going to be expanding things, being more transparent. So that is part of it. That's good. That could be there's two sides to every story, regardless of how this is. Right now, really, we've only heard one story. And I know in companies, some companies just choose, you know what, maybe they might stay silent on this forever, and it's just going to go away. And that's the answer to sometimes a lot of people have, right? We'll just say nothing. This will go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Where I always say, you know what? Why don't they put their side of the story out there, which could be completely like Ty said, or there could be a few other tidbits in there that you kind of look at and say, oh, okay, well, this makes a little more sense. You know what I mean? We don't know. So,
so next one here. This one is the bloom off the rose for Nat Turner. So I'll answer that one. For some folks, yes, but I also remind you, he is not PSA. He's the CEO of Collectors. That's the parent company of PSA. The people who are in charge of PSA, I think we've got Ryan. Is it Ryan Hoge?
Yep.
Is it Ryan Hoge now? So he's the president of PSA. People automatically go to Nat Turner, but the reality is Nat Turner should not be involved in the day-to-day operations of PSA. That's not really his purview. Of course, he's supposed to know what's going on to a certain degree. But it's Ryan Hoge's job, really, to oversee that segment of the business. So, really, the answer to that is up to you. That's a question for you to answer. I didn't put any undue expectations on Nat Turner. Other people did. So, if you came in with this high expectation that he's going to turn around a cruise ship instead of a motorboat, motorboats can move pretty agile. They can quickly shift from one side to the other. A cruise ship doesn't turn fast, even if you want it to. But also, if you're not captaining said cruise ship, you're not actually the one doing the turning. So even if you want to do it a certain way, that's not actually your job. You hired somebody to do that job.
I like that. That was good. That was good work, Carlos. I like that.
I got analogies for days, buddy. I got analogies for days.
That was good.
This is what I do. Why? That's why #influencer gets special treatment. I got analogies for days. All right, so real quick, I'll answer. So there you go. Hopefully that gives you at least some kind of an answer for you. Let me scroll down here for you. And again, everything's just our opinion. I don't have any control over it either.
And one thing too, you talk about special treatment, like me and Luke, and we talk about this pretty much every day. You'd think that us being PSA Canada and being one of the largest submitters to them, that we'd have a little bit more of a say. We are exactly the same as if Carlos ships a card to them. Doesn't make sense to me at all. It really doesn't make it. There's no special treatment. We don't get anything else besides everyone else gets.
And I think that's the worst. That is the worst. I flat out said, like, I've been trying to get special treatment from Upper Deck, not happening. I've been trying to get special treatment from PSA, not happening. Like, we got some serious issues in this industry if I cannot get special treatment.
We try to give you, we give you special treatment from AMG Collectibles when we can.
That is true. That is true. Listen, I'll take what I can get, man. I'll take what I can get. Jeez. At least somebody appreciates me around here.
Yeah.
So here Nico says, can we have the website link in the description? So yes, I will add it to the description, but also it's been scrolling here. I know this a couple of minutes ago, so I just want to come back to it and make sure we covered it.
Perfect.
Suggestion, add less update timestamp to the top of the worksheet. When you click on the worksheet, it does give you information on that, but it's a good suggestion anyway. It's possibly something that can be added to the file. So it's a good suggestion. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So let me scroll through quickly here.
And that is too. We will take. Hey, honestly, we appreciate that. We want as much feedback as we possibly can. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me scroll around here. Let's see. So Hockey, do you see tag as a threat to PSA? Will PSA take their ideas?
No.
They don't really have to, because technically, look, I've talked about this before. Technically, they don't have any ideas, because the idea that they have has actually already been pitched. Now, let me explain why I'm saying it this way. The execution of the idea is the thing, because the idea of machine learning grading, tag came on the scene after HGA, which came on the scene after a variety of others who said the idea of AI/machine learning grading. So they're not actually the first ones to do it. They're not the first ones to pitch the idea. Now, what they've said is that they've been working on it for 10 years. That's part of the backstory of it. So I'm giving you guys some background here. They said they've been working on it for 10 years, but we hadn't heard of them until maybe the last, 6 months, a year or so. So in reality, HGA predated them to market. Now, in the end, HGA has not been able to prove they can do any of that stuff. That doesn't change the fact, though, that they said they could. So the idea's been out there for years. The execution of the idea, you're talking about the technology, not the idea. So that's what Geniment is partially supposed to be doing, but we'll see if they can execute. We'll see if they can utilize it. But that's in the skunk works at PSA. It's hidden behind the secret curtain that we can't actually see behind. So either they're doing something with it or they're not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, it does. Absolutely. And I guess one of my part is that I said this the other night on your channel, on your live stream, Carlos, and I truly believe this. I think PSA, with what we all get to see with them reinvesting into the business, with the technology that these guys have, with the 1,500 employees, I feel like anything that's out there that's going to improve and automate the grading process, there'll still always be the human element. But I feel like I have confidence as a collector first of PSA cards that PSA is going to stay the top of the leaderboard. And I'm not saying that because of PSA Canada, but obviously I have a vested interest in that as well, from both ends of it, as a collector and from the PSA Canada side. I just truly believe that whatever technology is out there, they are utilizing or planning on using into the future. So I have confidence in that.
Sure. Okay, Luke, do you want to chime in on this one? Because I have something I'll add, but you first.
No.
No, actually, stick with that. Stick with that, Luke. It makes me happy because hockey likes to complain when people don't talk enough. So actually, stick with it. Stick with it. But raise your hand if you want to add anything to anything as we go along. So feel free to do so.
Absolutely.
I just like the fact it bugs him a little bit. I like that. So roll with it. I like it. I like where you went with that. So yep, absolutely. So Nico for the submission number, absolutely. So I'll keep that rolling here. Hobby Cop said, saw you had some 2021 UD in the shop today. Grabbed a blaster, didn't get the Robertson. Hey, Robertson's been flying off the shelves right now. It's crazy. So let's see here. SGC, it wouldn't be PSA Canada then. And tag submissions. I don't think anybody does tag submissions right now. I don't think at the moment anybody does, but I'll leave that be. Look, I'm trying to be nicer here than Friday. I was a lot nicer with my answer a moment ago than I would normally be for that question. You asked me on Friday the same question. I'll give it to you in a slightly different way. And you know this. So Dave here. They're well within the rights to ask for an NDA to be signed? Yes. Legally, they would lose the lawsuit if they don't give them a refund. That's kind of the murky issue, is that actually, keep in mind in the story, the disagreement is not about the payment. The two sides, the two parties, even in the video that we're talking about from BenchClear, they actually agreed to the number. So PSA basically said, okay, so would you be okay with this? And in the end, Ty said yes. So they actually agreed to the figure. The sticking point was the NDA piece. So in reality, that's something the two sides got to work on. For me, from a customer service perspective, thinking about it from that way, putting on that cap, that's something that they should have actually been talking through prior to. So before the video ever came out, but the thing, and I'm not going to knock Ty from BenchClear about it, because he had an initial video with the issue. They've had some time to talk about it. They've actually gone back and forth a number of times. That's something where somebody has to take charge and take it from end to end and be that contact point. If you have multiple contact points, that's where communication breaks down and you can have an issue. Right now, technically, Ty did everything that he needed to do. As a customer, he's entitled to have that opinion and to stay his peace. Brad with the boring safe answer. Correct.
I like that.
Yeah. Does PSA have a service of sending the graded PSA card that doesn't have its auto graded originally and potentially reholding the card if the auto gets a 10? You may basically resubmitting it to switch over to the other service. I would think so. I think so.
Yeah. So what we have done, and we've submitted those back. So if you, as a reholder, and it's worked for us every time now. I don't know if that's the official way what they want to do, but I actually just had one. We just sent one in last week. So if we send it, you pay for the reholder service. We send it in. Say it has it's the card's a 10 gem mint, and the auto's a 9. You want the auto 9 removed? We send it in. We request a reholder, remove the auto grade, and that happens. I'm hoping at some point that PSA gives the option, so when you can send it in, not to only grade the auto if it's like a min grade, only grade the auto if it's a 10. Give you that request to be able to do that. And I think a lot more people would submit. I think it would make a lot more money for PSA as well, because I think people that are on the fence, nobody wants to get an auto back unless it's a very obscure card or etc. But on anything that's a modern card, nobody wants anything but a 10 auto. So if you're reluctant to send that in, dual services cost 20% more. So that's 20% more revenue for PSA. If you had that option where you could only get a 10, I think people would pay that 20% more often. So it would be a big generator of revenue.
No, that sounds fair. Just Livingstone, good evening. Absolutely. Kevin, good evening. I like that he added the correction. Plural. Appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you. So, yep, just getting caught up here. Do you see PSA Canada ever calling out shady bulk submitters to social media? That'd be a terrible idea. No, just from a business perspective, for just in general. I think it's one of those things where, like, do you run a business? Have you ever run a business? It's not really the way you remember. And you have to bear in mind the tone of the show. And the thing is, Hockey United should know better, because he knows that I take on a very. That's why I made the crack about the tag answer. The way I answer the question in this show is actually very different. And those of you who've seen Friday know I would answer the question very differently on Friday. It's two different environments, two different tones that the show is taking under. So why would it make sense? Just asking. Why would it make sense logically for PSA Canada to call out anybody for anything that doesn't directly pertain to them? Brad, you going to call anybody out? Are we getting some you shooting some shots over the bow?
No, if I bit my tongue this long, I'm going to keep on biting my tongue.
Luke, you'll personally be in charge of calling people out. So you calling anybody out right now?
Nope.
There you go.
Know what?
Perfect answer.
You know what? It's like my business philosophy has always been the same thing. I stay in my lane, I do my thing, and if somebody wants to do their stuff, they can do whatever it is. I don't need to call them out. People are going to see it, right? So,
There you go. I like it. Bobbles is just jealous that we were venturing into his territory. Good evening, Bobbles.
Hi, Bubbles.
All right. And family friendly show? Ha. All right, moving on. I didn't think he'd turn around the cruise ship, but I think he missed an opportunity to change directions and leave some of the past behind. And that's fair, Dave. Although, to be fair, like I said, maybe it's more that I've been around the hobby long enough, and you've been around the hobby quite a long time yourself. So it's one of those things. I don't assume anything. I assume that I think a lot of people expect that because Nat Turner is a collector, and he is a collector, and he has opinions, and he's passionate about a lot of things he does. But you assume that's going to translate into the business side of business. He's still operating as a businessman. His job is to make a business. That means you're not necessarily going to rock the boat or change it unless you think it can fundamentally help the business. Because don't forget, he is not the sole owner. He's the CEO. He works with a consortium. There's a guy named Stephen Cohen. You may have heard of him. Google him if you haven't heard of him. He's got a couple bucks in his pocket too. And his expectation is profits. He's not a collector. His goal, the only reason he invested is because he expects this to be profitable venture. So the goal of the company is to make profits. That means Nat Turner needs to oversee the whole. Otherwise, he would be president of PSA, focus specifically on that division only, ignore PCGS, ignore the other categories, and do nothing else. But because he's collector CEO, he's got to look at the whole picture, not just that piece of the picture.
Yeah, no, it's true. And when you look from his mandate as CEO of Collectors, when they bought the company for just under $1 billion, now they have a valuation on the company of $6 or $7 billion. So in 2 years, you turn a company from $1 billion company into 6 or 7. I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or 2 years that Collectors goes back to being a public company, and Steve Cohen and the rest of the investors have a lofty payday.
I guess fair. I prefer 12s. Real influence, Eric, is to get 12s. Love the order status. Can't wait to submit it and try it out. There you go. Tag is a threat to no one. I'll just leave that be. I just wanted to read the first line. Crickets coming from Luke so far, and we'll continue that just for you. I actually get a cricket sound effect though. That'd be awesome. I actually think that'd be great. Does PSA have all the grading stateside, or do they do bulks? So PSA Canada is a bulk submitter. So they work with PSA and they send it over to Santa Ana, California currently, possibly New Jersey down the road if that becomes operational. But right now it is stateside where all the cards actually get graded. Okay, so let me see here. With the narrative out there of using the verbiage of collector more frequently, I've heard of this, but I really don't see like. I guess people are trying to incorporate it more into the vernacular here, but it's like you're a collector, you're not a collector. But again, is it mostly collectors that are submitting to PSA Canada these days? I think we demographically are a little different than the general PSA population. But Brad, do you want to speak to that one?
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I don't really know how to quantify that, but I can say one thing is that a lot of true passionate collectors that have not submitted over the last couple of years are starting to come back into the scene now, which is nice to see. A lot of guys that I simply told over the last couple of years, like, don't submit your cards. Just hang tight, wait till prices come down. This will get straightened away at some point. So I'm starting to see those guys coming back. Some of the emails, even today, I think I had 3 or 4 emails from guys where they're like, hey, Brad, good chatting with you. Can you give me an update on orders? And I looked at the last correspondence was 2021. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I read the correspondence, read the thread. And it's, hey, look, it's $150 per card to grade right now. I know you want to get your 64 tall boy set graded, but now all of a sudden at $25 a card, they want to venture back in. So
I think that's fair. Green Cardboard, good evening. Absolutely. Hobby Cop, how do you handle a card that you're not sure of the year? eBay listing says 78 to 81. It's a Swedish card. I've heard of some of those. I'm guessing non-sport, or maybe it's a hockey card. I'm not sure. Still digging, but what do I do if I can't find it? So there is supposed to be a department that does the research. Obviously, the more you know ahead of time, it makes it easier. It narrows it down. But there is a research step involved in it. In theory, they should be able to figure it out. But obviously, the more information you can provide, the more likely it'll get funneled into the correct thing for you. Anything you want to add to that one, Brad?
if it's a hockey card, we can go to our hockey historian, Bobby Burrell, who's usually in the chat, and we can ask him. Even
it
if
falls under the time period of his book, so you would be able to still, if it's a hockey card, you would be
100%.
able to get in there.
He'd be able to kind of track it down. But if you just simply want to submit the card and you think that it is a real legit card and that they might be out there, we can always send it in with the best description possible. And worst case scenario, it comes back, do not hold her. And then you have to go through the CRC department where you can, how can I explain this the proper way? If you dug in, and we have a lot of customers that do this, some of them are in the chat, where if you have a card and you have the history on it, a lot of it's overseas stuff, like a lot of Russian hockey cards, a lot of different things that I've seen. They'll do the background and they'll say, look, this card was put out in 1971 by this gas company that was in Russia. They were distributed, blah, blah, blah. And he has pictures. They send that all in. And then all of a sudden PSA will come back. Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much for this. We are going to grade these now. Mm-hmm. And then they give you a certain number that you put in, and you can be the first one to have your card graded. So
that's fair. And already we got a little bit of an answer to that one at the bottom. I was right. Hobby Cop. I assumed it was non-sport, kind of the way you phrased it. I assumed, but it was fair. And then Bobby already had it covered there, but we'll get to that in a second. So Hockey 99 says, why doesn't PSA try Tim Hortons hockey card submission deal? Are you in the habit of asking people to submit $1 cards? Like, here's the thing. Could you do it in theory? Sure. But who's subsidizing it? I think people forget that when you got one of those submission deals, there is a little bit of it's an agreement. It's basically setting the groundwork. Like using that example, the example with SGC doing the thing with Topps, where they're doing the 2022 Bowman Chrome. So it's a very specific set, a very specific year, and then they get a discount. But that's a deal that those two worked out. So everybody is supposed to be getting something from this. Topps wants to increase sales of this, potentially, creating more revenue for themselves. SGC gets an opportunity to kind of co-brand with Topps and then get stuff directly in their holders. And maybe if a couple of those guys take off down the road, there you go. It's a marketing opportunity. But there's an arrangement there. Tim Hortons is like, we make the cards. We work with Upper Deck. They make the cards and then we sell the cards. Well, Tim Hortons probably wouldn't be interested. And then you basically would be doing the deal with Upper Deck. But then Upper Deck would be like, why do we need to do that for like 99-cent packs cards? You could, but it'd be awkward. That's kind of my pushback on that.
Yeah, and I can tell you honestly, like, I don't know how many Tim Hortons cards over the years PSA has graded, but it's not that many.
Yeah, because it's just the value doesn't make any sense for the price of the actual cards themselves, unless you just have your heart set on having it encapsulated just for your collection or whatever. I don't see a ton of value in doing it. Over the years, there have been a couple, like I think the Sidney Crosby rookie year. That card is actually considered a rookie, I believe, on the checklists. So there could be some value to that, but it's low comparatively. So real quick, I'll get caught up on these.
I just had a guy that submitted. It was a stack. I don't know if there's. I think there might have been 50. McDonald's, Tim Hortons, Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, that'd be one of the few examples I could see. That's one of the few examples, though. But you have to think about that. Out of all the cards that Tim Hortons has produced over the years in that program, that's one of the few, because at least that was his rookie year. I think it's considered to be a rookie card on the checklist, like if you look at it, and that's what it took. So it worked out. So we'll have to see. So yes, glad I caught at your work, but I'm off to lunch. Enjoy your lunch. Good evening, gents. Were any of you cheering on Tage to break Sittler's 10-point game record? It requires 10 goals, man. But it's fun. It's fun to root for, but it requires 10 goals. All right, Luke, are we rooting for 10 goals, 10 points? Are we breaking Daryl Sittler's record? Are we rooting for it?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
Old one.
All right, so he was ready with visual aids. I like what you did there. I like how you took that one. I like it.
That's good. It's like, see, Luke's learning here.
No, Luke was biding his time. That's the problem. Hockey does not appreciate that Luke is simply conserving energy for the moment to strike.
That's a Heartland move, though. You pull to the back wall and you pull them out. I love it.
So here Josh says, if I had a PSA 10 with an ungraded auto, how would I submit it to have the auto graded as well? And is there a minimum grade I could ask? So take it away.
I don't think you can ask for a minimum.
Yeah, you can't ask for a minimum grade on a card anymore. They got rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you could submit the card and you could put in I've never done that before, to tell you the truth, but you could submit the card and request that obviously the auto stays with the current grade. Yeah, that's a new one. I'm sure they're willing to, they can do it.
Yeah. I think one thing I would add is that you really have to have your heart set on this. I honestly think if you're talking about a PSA 10 and let's say the card, whatever the value is, really, it doesn't matter. Like if you have your heart set on it, so be it. But if it's already a 10, I can imagine some people liking it. For me, I wouldn't care if the autograph's graded, especially if it's a certified auto. Now, if it's not a certified auto, it wouldn't have been. I don't know if they would have graded it anyway. Like if it's not, because you'd have to put it through that other funnel. Right. But if it's a certified autograph, it's a certified autograph. Unless you think maybe the autograph is exceptional and you're like, oh, I want to add that little extra to it, I guess. But I just don't see the additional value if you've already got it in the holder that way, and it's a 10. It's already a nice card. That's just me. It just seems like double dipping. And look, it is called the PSA Canada thing, but it's like, don't just spend money for the sake of spending money. You already got it in the holder. Unless you really, if you have your heart set on it, then so be it. But you've already got it in the holder. Half the work's already done. Mm-hmm. That's just my take. They call Bobby. Yes, it's a hockey card. They call Bobby. Certainly not me doing research. Man. Well, at least find the Chiefs, string them on. Like, come on. Help us out with something here. Okay. Does PSA Canada take ethical stances if not allowing submissions of Kanye? Do we not accept Yee cards?
No,
he's got his controversies.
We accept every cards, but I will tell that little story. My 16-year-old daughter downstairs right now, I decided to try to get her into collecting a few things. So I thought sneakers would be cool. She's a theater kid, very musical. So we bought a few pairs of sneakers for her just to keep as collector items. So then I came home one day, and this is only about a year ago, and I did not know this. I feel kind of a little bit dumb for not knowing it, but I brought home a very cool looking pair of sneakers, and I was like, yeah, these are, make sure I say this right, Yeezys.
They're Yeezys, yeah.
And
I figured that's where you're going with it.
Yep. And I gave that, and she was like, oh, thanks. This is very cool. And I could see the look on her face. I'm like, what? Like, you don't like these? And she's like, well, that's Kanye West. And she's a big Taylor Swift fan. So obviously we know the Swift. You can't be a Swiftie and you can't like Kanye West. So.
Oh, yeah. Burn at the stake. I learned that. Burn at the stake.
So I did learn that. So anyways, I took them back to the guy. We traded them in. So,
Yeah, so to answer your question, Hockey 99 at the Heartland household, there is shoe ethics.
yeah,
You have to respect the Swifty. So in that sense, there is a limit. But if you're submitting a card, you can get it submitted.
absolutely.
There you go. So Mark here says 3940, play ball, baseball card stock, naturally yellowed on the backs. Does PSA take that into consideration? So basically toning on the card. Or is the card docked for that? Thinking of sending a dozen or so Hall of Fame cards. That's an interesting question. There are some subtleties of it. I guess if it affected eye appeal, it could. I don't know if they would look at it from a technical grade perspective or if they would take the toning into account.
Well, you know
That's a
what they do,
question.
and I've always said this, being the hockey collector, like if you look at especially 53, 54 Parkhurst,
Mhm.
I mean, that's the set that's the most notorious for the bleaching, the color, like how you can have a Gump Worsley rookie that looks so white and clean, or it can be brown. So when PSA, they grade them the same. So you can have the brown version or you can have the bleached white version, and they don't consider that a defect. So I'm assuming it would probably fall into that category too, but that'd be a guess.
Yeah, it's a good question though, Mark. I like that because that's more of an issue specific subtlety. So it's one of those things where I think that's a legitimate question worth asking.
Yeah, and the thing you can do at all times as well, say hi to Logan. But what you can, if you email PSA card, go to psacard.com and email info. You might not get an answer for a few days, but they'll get back to you, and you can ask those questions. So,
Yeah, and I think it's a valid question, especially if you're interested. You're talking about Hall of Famers, so obviously there'd be some costs incurred there depending on which ones and the values and stuff.
Yeah.
I would definitely be. It would be worthwhile to ask the question to make sure you get what you're looking for. Because in that situation, you might want to shop around because there are options. And if they don't give you an answer you're happy with, then you can check with some of the other graders in the space and see what their policy is on that. Because it's a policy, right? Because we know that issue has that specific condition thing, but it doesn't necessarily damage the card. It's just something that happens with the cardboard over time on some of those issues. So I think it's a great question though, Mark. Good evening, Paul. Absolutely. Tim Hortons collectors are set collectors and likely old people. There's quite a combination of those two. But that's why I say, like, honestly, a Tim Hortons one, in all seriousness, Tim Hortons card should be in a binder or something. Like, just enjoy them. Put them in a binder. Have fun. They're not really, I wouldn't go running to grade a Tim Hortons card of just about anybody. Like I said, the Sidney
Maybe
Crosby
the only
maybe,
people-
if you got like a pristine example.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the ones that are grading the Tim Hortons cards or whatever are probably like flippers, right?
Yeah.
Grading them, getting good grades and selling them off, right? But yeah, you're right. All collectors of the Tim Hortons are usually in the binders, and they're just set collectors, right? So
Yeah. But the other thing is they made like 1 billion of them. Like they really did. There's no shortage of those things. They printed quite a bit because all the food issue ones, the McDonald's cards back in the day also. I cut my teeth and grew up on the McDonald's one. I love the cards, but they're not rare by any way, shape, and form. They're very common. It's like, oh, but what about high condition? They made millions and millions and millions of each. I can find pristine examples sitting in a binder somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of it. Logan was very proud of you, Luke, when you did the off-screen pull of the cards. So nicely done. There's your trivia question. I remember I used to know the answer to this. So who did he score the 10 points against? I used to know the answer to this question, but it's been a while because I would be watching the Hockey Night in Canada, and occasionally they would do like they'd do some trivia notes and talk about it here and there, but I genuinely don't remember.
I was going to say Buffalo.
Don't know. Good question.
Hmm.
Oh, he just said ask Eric. It's probably Boston.
Ah.
So 89 Hoops is made in white or slightly yellow. Yep, there's some sets that have some variations. So when we opened a 57 Parker's pack, the top card was white, but the three below were toned from being against the back of the others for 60 years. Yeah. So right out of a pack that had been there, one card was white and the other cards were toned, and that's normal. That's fine. It's all good. That's why I say, like, I would, especially in an issue like that where it's common, I really wouldn't penalize the card for that personally. That would be me, but I don't know what their policy is. You'd be better served asking. Tim Hortons cards are great at getting kids into the hobby. I agree 100%. Against Boston. Thank you, Doug. Stop the show. Don't talk about this. You know what I'm going to stop the show for? Thank you for asking. Eric has generously offered to, once again, sponsor and pay for the like button. Every time somebody hits the like button, I send Eric an invoice. So he said stop the show, so I stopped the show so I could remind you all that the like button is being funded by Eric personally. There, see? I talked about something else. Feel better?
There you go. Good job.
Moving on. Albert, absolutely. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the Jason Robinson and Tage Thompson hype train? Bob, you guys missed out. Bobbles and ball cards a little bit earlier. He's all over the Jason Robertson hype train. He's very excited about this. I will say I'm enjoying and appreciating it. I was following the Stars back in the mid '90s because originally I followed Medano, and I collect Jamie Benn as well. Even though Jamie Benn sucked until recently, now he's half decent again. I'm like, what is this? I'm confused. I thought you just decided to suck for the rest of your career. But this year has been very good for him. But Jason Robertson is he's literally the worst scoring champion of all time. That's what makes me laugh. And by the way, I stand behind that. You guys can do some research and you'll find out it's true. But I do enjoy him. But the thing is that Jason Robertson, that hype train is insane. It's madness. It's fun to watch. I really don't have more than a handful of Jason Robertson cards, and I think honestly they're probably all in Comsy, and I'm probably going to flip them. Like take them. But I appreciate it. I'm enjoying it. From watching it from afar without any direct connection to it. Go ahead, Luke.
I think the thing about Jason Robertson, I think it's a lot different than all the other players. Like look at Sam Steele last year. Look at Asim Contois when he started playing well. The guys around his training stuff and started picking up. But what's different about Jason Robertson is this: he's half Filipino, and that Filipino community, people are moving away from basketball, which a lot of them were into basketball, are now going to this hockey now and thinking wow, this guy's a star. They're starting chasing him, and I think that's what's going to drive Jason Robertson stuff even higher. That's my thoughts. That right here. So
now, just to put a little tempering on this, nothing is ever unlimited. He is right now on a heater. He genuinely is on an impressive heater. He was the first this year to 20 goals. Extremely impressive. Right now his point total, he's right up there in the point totals as well. So I don't remember exactly where he's sitting right now, but he's right up there, right at the top there with, not far behind McDavid, not far behind, the guys right up the top of the food chain. Does that mean he's going to sustain that for the whole season? Not likely. But last year, I could be mistaken. I think he scored 41 goals last year. Mm-hmm. So he's already demonstrated some goal scoring prowess. I'm kind of with Albert here. If you have duplicates and some decent ones that you think it wouldn't be the worst, because he could still have a great season and there could still be an opportunity to pull back slightly from the absolute, because if you watch the Future Watch and a bunch of the other ones, even the Young Guns and PSA 10s and the Young Guns, right now the prices they're going for are super inflated. It's craziness. If you've got duplicates, I would be yes, I will sell this to you.
Yeah. It's funny, Eric's price guide that we all love over the last 40 years of our lifetimes.
Oh, it's the most exciting.
They have Alex Lafreniere is at right now he books at $125 his Young Gun from the same set, Series 1 2021. And Jason Robinson booked at 80, and last month they dropped him from 80 to 60. So now you have the same set. Just look at that. Jason Robinson $60 and Lafreniere still sitting at 125.
Right.
Eric's price guide.
Yep, there you go. Eric's got to get on the ball, man. He's dropping it right now. So real quick, I'll get caught up on a couple of these. Have people giving up and submitting junk wax era cards? I've definitely seen some get submitted still. It's also a price thing. It goes back to the McDonald's thing. Is it worth it to you personally to submit? If the answer is yes, then sure. Obviously, if we come back and the price on bulk takes another little drop down coming soon, that will make it more enticing for some folk. Maybe they want one for their personal collection. But they're not going to submit an entire 1990-91 set, but they may pick and choose a couple of cards they like to do, and that would maybe make sense for them. So go ahead, Brad. It looked like you wanted to show off something.
I just thought I can't remember who's in the chat, but anyways, we talk about my junk wax era. I still love collecting Bure rookie cards. I just love that card so much.
Yep.
But Nova Grower came in the shop this week and he gave me a nice little gift. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Very nice.
It adds to my collection of Pavel Bure.
Nice.
I mean,
now, wasn't there one that was sitting in that impenetrable case? Did you finally get it out of it? Or you still got it in there?
It's still in the case. That's I know I could try to crack it, but I'm
I already gave you the secret to that one. Yeah. I've already proven it works. Sherry is my witness. I already was able to crack it out of one of those. So here, I think we should be discouraging kids from getting into the hobby. I enjoy the hobby, but they should put their money elsewhere. I'm not going to fight you. You do you. I'm not going to actively discourage kids, but I'm also not going to be oh my God, you must collect. No, if they show an interest, so be it. That's fine. You do you. Go ahead.
I completely disagree with that.
Yeah. I can imagine. Look, it's Hockey 99. He's your nemesis. He is Shadow Universe Brad.
No, but I just think, again, being a kid, where you're going to put your money, most of the places you're going to put your money, you're going to have absolutely no return ever on it. You know, if you want to go out and you're buying
Listen,
toys,
don't question my Fortnite addiction, sir.
yeah, well, there you go, right? But at least you are, and you're learning the business. And I love seeing the amount of young people in the hobby. And again, I'm not saying 6, 7, 8-year-old, but seeing people of all ages in the hobby. This hobby is for people of all ages. And I love that there's a place, there's a lane. Carlos, we talk about it many times on the Friday night streams. Look at me. Like, I was super excited to add another Bure card that's worth, I don't know, $1 or $2 or whatever it is. But there's a lane for everybody in this. And this is what makes the hobby so good, is that whatever your price bracket is, you can come in and you can have fun and you can enjoy it. So that's my stand on it. That's not just the speech. That's a true, like, that's how I truly feel about it. Right.
No, that's fair. And Luke, I want to get your look at this guy.
I love 90s junk wax era.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The holograms. He's got the holograms going. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. Well played, Luke. Well played. No, I wanted to get your take on this as well. The thing that my thought process on it is always, though, when this question comes up, a lot of people take it to one extreme or the other. My thought process is, if there is interest shown, or you can give exposure, but if there's no interest shown, well, then don't try to force anybody. At this point in the game, I probably wouldn't start collecting cards, because even though I enjoy elements of it, there are other things. I'm a technology guy. I like tinkering with technology, so I'd probably be fixating on that. But I've already been in this long enough, so I find my areas of appreciation for it, things that I enjoy in it. But the moment it starts not being fun for me, then I walk away. Like, there's no need to deal with any of that. But to each their own. Eric wants it to continue with the like button. He's appreciating that, so absolutely, no doubt. Who is Jason Robertson? I have no idea. They're allegations and shenanigans. Good evening. The goalie was Dave Reese, and that was his last game in the NHL. Well, after giving up at least 10 goals, I would imagine. That was the sell from earlier. Luke was missing the hashtag invest. Facts. But I did temper it. I did give everybody a fair warning. He is on a heater right now. I wouldn't want to be buying. I wouldn't be comfortable buying Jason Robertson right now. Like, just with the way the prices have gone. If you already have some with you, that's why I said, if you got extras, it might not be the worst time to at least consider moving off of a couple of those, collecting some of the proceeds, and then waiting for an opportunity. Because if he cools off for a couple of weeks, then the price would dip back down a little bit, and you can actually buy it back and pocket the difference. So, but again, if you already own it, if you were able to buy it at the cheaper price, it might not be a bad idea. But don't run out to go buying, hoping it'll double.
Yeah. I don't agree. I think it's kind of that. If you can buy now, buy. Because
dear God, Luke, you reserve the words to give hashtag invest advice? The opinions expressed by Luke are not necessarily those of the PSA Canada Hobby Show, Brad Harlan, or Carlos.
It's my opinion.
Yikes. He just said, now is the time he acts up and he goes completely off script on this one. Good Lord. I like it. Luke, I appreciate where you went with that. I did enjoy it. All right. Tage against the machine. There you go. I like that. Well played. Sell Tage, maybe keep a couple Robertson. Lafreniere. Lucas cornered the Tage market with that stack of cards he shows. Eric loves everybody. Facts. It's funny that people just realize him this year. Last year he had back-to-back hat tricks. First time Ovechkin did it in 2017. That's why I said 41 goals last year. He played very well, but like I said, because he has been so hot early on in the season, immediately drawn a lot of attention to him. And obviously the prices have responded, and now we've got more product. And this is where, unfortunately, like I joke about it, but Bobbles kind of got screwed over a little bit because he was enthusiastic about Robertson, but the product wasn't there. Like, if the cup had been available, he might have been able to go after a cup rookie. Now, I don't think he can, short of mortgaging his house. Like, I don't know what they're going to come out at, but it's not going to be cheap. If he's still playing hot, and then the cup RPAs come out, it's like, good luck with that. Let me know how it turns out. I'll watch from over here where it's safe.
But it depends. It depends on the cup. I don't know. They haven't got the checklist yet, eh? So
no, we're still waiting. We're still waiting.
I know. So is he going to be a 249 or a 99?
Well, I don't think it really matters right now. Do you really think that a 249 would really temper the demand that much? Like, assuming he's still playing really hot, do you think a 249 would really temper the demand that much? I think it would still go for a pretty penny.
Oh, it'll go for a pretty penny, but 99 would go for even more. That's what I'm saying, right?
What do you think right now? The cup drops next week. Jason Robinson RPO to 99.
Wait, if it drops next week, we should have a checklist though. So do we have a
Oh,
checklist?
sorry. Yeah, it's not. Sorry, I was saying hypothetically.
Oh, hypothetically, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. I think from what I see now, it's mid-January, but who really knows for
Sure.
sure?
Yeah.
But
It'd be
if
15
it
and
did
20K
15, 20K,
It'd be pretty. It'd be up
right
there.
off the bat.
right?
Oh, especially right now. Like, but I'm saying the 249, I don't think would hurt that much right now. I think there's enough demand. Look, I know the one guy. I want to say something Reed collector. I'll find it. But there's a guy who is like a hardcore Jason Robertson collector on Instagram. Has a ton of stuff, like really nice stuff. And he's definitely like, I think he has one of the golden treasures. There's a bunch of like really nice stuff. But it's one of those things where like there are a few folks now who are kind of venturing into those waters as a result of that. And all you need is a couple of hardcores and then a couple of other folks that dipped in because of him being on such a hot streak. And there's your pricing. So real quick here, 2-story. Yep, that wasn't pertaining to me cracking open that case. I'll send Brad a tutorial. So kids should have as much fun as possible. Lots of years to be making responsible choices. That's fair, Dave. I think that's a good counter to that discussion. Good evening, Jeff. Late to the show. I'll check out the beginning after live. Sounds good, Jeff. Thank you for joining in. I'm not Brad's nemesis, aren't you though? Aren't you? And he says, "Yeesh." Sounds like it's trying to get in with the kids. It will lead to kids buying cards as an adult. Tell them to run. There you go. Back on the line, Jason Robinson is now listed as 200 with an up arrow. Ooh. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. Luke taking over from SCI. I know. He went full sports card investor on us. He didn't even lead in with the hello. We weren't ready for it. Everybody buy Charizard. I heard he can't break an ACL. Kidneys. Yes. Allegedly. You guys are getting it. Albert says nah. Brad, there's a YouTuber out there that's been in the hobby for 40 years. Says cards aren't an investment. I think I know who this is because I did shout out one of his videos. He's been around for a while. Now, this is about the definition of investment. I'm going to remember when I say investment, you can make money. Buy at this price, sell at higher price. Sell at that price, buy at that price. But that's not an investment to me. But Brad, what say you?
Yeah, I think it depends on how you want to look at the term of an investment. Again, I love cards. I love my collection. I'm not interested in selling them, but if I thought they were going to be worthless, then I don't think I would enjoy the whole process. Mm-hmm. So even from a young age, you buy a card and you're hoping that someday it's going to go up in value. So I think as far as someone saying they're just a true collector, I don't really feel like that's true.
But that wasn't the point he made, though, to be clear.
Right.
He's not saying that only talking about collecting. He has actually been a dealer. So if it's the same guy that I believe he's referring to, he has been a dealer for years. He's saying you can totally make money on cards. His point was like, absolutely. You can make money on cards, buy at this price, sell at this price. Or, buy it just for your collecting purposes, whatever makes the most sense. But he's saying they're not an investment. And the way I'm looking at it, I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of if I just buy the card and hold it, I'm not making a dime. I can hold it for 100 years, 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years. I still have to sell it to extract the value from this, no matter what the market says. The physical act of selling it, that's where I get the money, and then in turn, there's your growth. Until you sell it, literally, you have nothing. You put the money out, and nothing has come back until you sell the item. I could buy a lamp and sell the lamp for twice the price, and it's no different other than it's a lamp instead of a card.
Yeah.
So are RSPs investments?
An RSP can be from the perspective of if it grows. Also, an RSP can save me on taxes. So I actually get something on the front end by physically having it. By putting money in there, even if I do nothing, I at least get a tax break. Buying that card, I do not get a break.
Yeah.
There's no
break. Same thing. If you buy a stock that doesn't pay a dividend, if you buy a stock that pays a dividend, yes, absolutely. But you can buy a stock. Yeah. I guess that's something that maybe we should get a financial expert on and bring him in to see what his opinion is.
Yeah, I think it comes down. That's the reason, though, I made very clear. It depends on your definition of what an investment is. Correct. If an investment is simply a vehicle with which you can make money, then literally anything can be an investment if we open that up. Because I can sell you this bottle for twice what I paid for it, and I doubled my money. Do you consider that to be an investment? If by the strictest definition of simply making money, then yes. But if we talk about me physically having this, I can't make any money off of it until I sell it. Mm-hmm. But if you can buy the stock and it does have a dividend, that means the whole time you're holding it, some money is coming in. It is producing an interest-bearing account, even if it's not a lot. At least there is some additional money coming into it simply by having that money in that account. The card, until you transfer the value and extract the value, there is no. It could have quintupled in price 1,000x. You've got nothing until you sell it.
Yeah.
Just cardboard.
That's what I mean. Until the moment you
just cardboard.
transfer it and convert it into the money, you literally just took money out and nothing is coming back in until you do something about it.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. Case Heads Read. Thank you, Bobbles. Appreciate that. I knew you'd know who I was talking about. And he's got some great stuff. Like, I've been very impressed. I looked at Instagram and he's a hoarder though. He's got multiples of a bunch of that stuff. If there's when the cup one comes out, I'm like, okay, are you going to go after the cup one? Because now I'm curious. And are you going to grab multiples of that? I'd be curious to see about that one. He's saying the prices are high though. Yes, because they are right now. Ask him about the green PMG. He's saying it's about what it was when I bought it, which is no way because all the reds are up. Yeah, no, I think he's lying to you on that one. I agree. Is Jason Robinson better investment than Will Greer? Ooh, Luke, as our resident sports card investor, is Jason Robertson a better investment than Will Greer? And by what percentage?
Who's Will Greer?
That's your answer. That's your answer. There you go. 3 months ago to 2 years ago, yes. Right now, who knows? Lots of risk right now with the hype. Yes, absolutely. Cards are to be collected. They're not an investment. Now, you can invest time. So this is kind of a caveat. If you want to cheat a little bit, you can invest time into the pursuit of a collection and working on projects and stuff. But again, the return is your enjoyment, which is nebulous. So it just depends on you. The answer to that part would be you.
I agree. And don't you think, though, the question is, would you, if you thought they were absolutely going to be worthless, would you still have the same enjoyment of collecting? You know, like, I feel like there has to be a synergy between the two. I don't know how to articulate it properly, but I'm not saying that cards are an investment by any means. But if I thought that these cards were all going to be worthless, would I keep on buying them the way and spending the money that we do? No, probably not. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to have a little bit of thought. Maybe they will all be worthless. Who knows? At the end of the day, if they are, they are. But you have to think a little positivity on that. So,
sounds fair.
I think a portion, like a little portion of collecting is also like where it doesn't matter what the value is. It could be worthless, but you're still enjoying it. But you're not going to put full force into it. You know,
right? You know what I mean? Like, I love collecting these Pavel Bure rookies. Do I think they are an investment? Absolutely not. But I truly enjoy collecting those. Right?
Yeah. Oh,
I love my MJ stickers.
Okay, there you go. Nice. Luke's
like
got some stuff going on back there.
packs of them, eh?
Nice, I like it. So Dave here says, just keep in mind that in the mid-'70s, stamps hit their zenith. Investors took a bath. By 1990, there have been 3 crashes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was a very popular hobby for a very long time. And then just kind of saying, today there are still stamp collectors, but they're few and far between. Not too many. Stocks are marketable securities. Cards are not. They are less liquid, which is also true. There is a lot of friction involved. You can sell cards, yes, but there are various frictions. It's not as simple as just snap your fingers and convert it into cash all the time. Not always. Brad, I didn't accept that eBay offer.
Okay, you know what? Let's ask Carlos this question.
Go ahead.
I mean, he has a Charizard card up there. I'm not even sure which one it is. It's not.
And he wanted to trade it straight up for a cheese string amount. I understand. Go ahead.
Cheese string amount. But he had an offer on a card. I don't know what the card was, but it was $22,000 for a PSA Pokemon card, and and he just sent me to it, and I went sell, like as fast as you possibly can. I have no idea if it's $100,000 card or whatever, but I just seen PSA 10 Pokemon card, 22 grand, sell.
Right.
But
so this is apparently the card, just to be specific.
Expedition PSA 10 Charizard. I have no idea.
I know what Charizard is. I've heard ish of Expedition, but I have no context. But fair enough. All right. So 22,000. Yes. In on paper, I say sell. I agree with you. But like honestly, the problem is you didn't pitch it to him the right way. Think of how many Will Greers he could have bought with that.
Hey, he's
or one Jason Robertson, or one Jason Robertson at the rate we're going by the exchange rate. He tried for 23. Greed, my friend. Insatiable greed. Come on. 22 is pretty good. I don't know. So here, Augie says, I'm surprised Behind the Card didn't partner with PSA Canada for promotion on this channel. Do you see who's hosting this? Do you think that would have worked out? Moving on. I try to be nicer on this show. Work with me here. All right. Hobby Cop. So now, definition of investment. The action or process of investing money for profit or material result, which is fair. But you got to remember, like I said, with a card, but that's why I gave the silly example. That's why I said the lamp. That's why I talked about the bottle of Coke. The way most cards are profitable is no different than any other physical item. It can be like your garage sale. Oh, I found some random crap in the garage that they bought like a whole box of it for $1 each. Oh, actually, you can probably get 10 or 15 bucks for that. Oh, sweet. All right, I 10x my money. Was that an investment? No. Most people won't think of that as an investment. They'll be like, oh, no, you got something on the cheap. You sold it at the garage sale. That's cool. That's awesome. But you can make money on literally anything under the right circumstances. But once buying the card, the investment is, I think the value of this will increase. And when it increases at a point that I'm comfortable at, unless you're Kevin and then you decide not to sell it, then you go to sell it and then they give you the money. And then at that point you have made the money. But until then, while you're physically possessing it, you have a piece of cardboard. So that's the thing. The money doesn't come until you complete the it's half the transaction. You got to finish the transaction to get to the other part.
Yeah.
So I remember wanting to complete a sticker collection as a kid. Collecting can be fun for the fun of it. That's the hope. I agree with that. I got excited in the mail today. A whopping $2.50 87 traded crime dog rookie. #invest. New Hall of Famer. It was a bad choice. Bad. Facts. Facts. Bobby says Brad is correct. Good times.
Thank
And
you,
Paul
Bobby.
loves lamp. And lamp is a #investment now. Think about it. But yeah, I think sometimes it's you have to resist the urge to be a little bit greedy, especially in this environment. I feel like if you got a price that you're comfortable with, this is not to pick on Kevin. Like at the end of the day, he made a decision, and as long as he's cool with it, we'll mercilessly mock him later, quietly offline for it. But the point is that as long as you feel like you've done well in the transaction, I'm not going to try to squeeze in a couple extra percentage points. Like $1,000 is $1,000. There's nothing wrong with that. But like if you made some money on the deal, take the money. Especially right now. By the way, with the way the environment is right now, maybe you can then convert that money into some other things that maybe could do well for you. So you could actually, divest it into a couple of categories. You can have a little fun with that. There's some opportunities there. That's kind of the take I would make. By the way, Luke, Are you sleeping or are you frozen?
He's
You're deep in thought?
Nope. I'm looking for Will Greer. See who he is.
Well, somebody's got to find him. I love it. All right. So real quick. So Brad, do you think you'll be many Fred McGriff submissions? I sincerely hope not. Like if you wanted to go down that train, you should have taken Bobble's $2.50 one. That is the one you could submit. But I wouldn't buy anything right now because he got a little mini boost. Like I don't know about that one. But
well, honestly, I thought of it. So I have my PSA 10, mostly PSA 10 Blue Jay collection.
Okay.
Guys, so I have an 86 Don Ross PSA 10 Fred McGriff.
Yep.
That I'm sure I would have paid $20, $40 for it or something back 15, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what, I should pull that out and sell that now because I'm sure whatever I'm going to get for it in this 2 weeks, I'm going to be able to buy it back for less than a year's time. Yeah. And usually that's the hype train. It's like when someone dies or whenever, if you can do that, I think you'll be better off. So I didn't do it, but.
Well, that happened with the Jeter. When he was coming up for Hall of Fame induction, like the card had value all the way through. But when he was coming up on Hall of Fame induction, right up until the moment it was official and then just after, the Jeter like hit an apex there. Obviously, it's a condition sensitive card because it's the SP. But it went up really, really high and then did come back down a little bit. And then obviously with the boom, it took another lift, but it took the boom to push it up again. Otherwise, somebody could have sold it at that initial apex, bought it back when it came back down, and then when it hit another boom, well, then sell it again, and you make money the second time as well. So there were some opportunities there if you really wanted to. But I wouldn't be running to do Fred McGriff unless you literally got the card for a couple bucks, and you're like, screw it, send a couple in, and maybe I get some 10s, and fine. By the time you get it back, though, even quickly, it's like that hype train is gone. You already have to have it encapsulated. Sell it already graded if you got it, but
I forgot how close he was. I think 493 homers.
Yeah. Yeah, he's tied with Lou Gehrig. He was tied with Lou Gehrig in career home runs. Alas, he's not cool with it. Sadness. A little sad. Luke, who is your hobby hero? Jason Robertson. Go on.
Don't have one.
Oh.
I have many.
Oh, he's got many. All right. Can you give us a couple of your hobby heroes? Who are some of your hobby heroes?
Like who do I collect or who do I like or?
Well, it said hobby hero. I think it's a little open-ended. Brad. Who else?
Brad, Carlos.
Understandable. The like button. The like button is a hobby hero, and I know Eric appreciates the like button.
Eric, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can pick some players. Luke. Who do you like? Like obviously for collecting purposes or anything like that, you could pick a couple of those. That would make sense.
Bo Jackson's probably my ultimate hero.
That's a great one.
Back in
That's a
the
good one. Yeah.
yeah, way back. I mean, I don't have a lot of his stuff, and like I said, I'm looking for that score 1990 score with his baseball bat, black and white. That's the best card in the world.
It's a classic photo. Yeah, you're right. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Bo was an interesting one. In some ways, because his career was never fulfilled, he is one of the greatest what ifs, just because he was such a ridiculous athlete in both sports. It would have been interesting. I actually think he would have done well, but I actually think, interestingly enough, if he had finished his career and been really good at both sports, but never quite got the Hall of Fame in either sport, it wouldn't have been quite as exciting as it was with the potential. Everybody looked at him and like, oh my God, this guy.
Mm-hmm.
As a running back, he was scary. As a baseball player, he was very good, but I think as a running back, he was really scary with his speed and power. Yeah, with his speed and power. I think he would have had a much better shot at being an NFL Hall of Famer if he had really focused attention on it and been able to stay healthy long enough, especially with his skill set.
Yeah.
Do real quick here, just scanning through. Eric has you, Luke, as his new hobby goat. There you go. Mutual appreciation. We love that. Exact reason I bought one as soon as it was announced. I couldn't remember if I had one, but wanted to be ahead of a boost. So the Fred McGriff specifically went ahead and bought one just in case. I think that's fair. Love the 91 Upper Deck Fred McGriff Low Series card. He was posting a picture with 3 bats in Blue Jay uniform. It's a good picture. Upper Deck had some good pictures in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Will Greer, obviously. And Kevin was offended. This was targeted. Less sad. Maybe if you had found that she's string them on, you could have been a hobby goat, hobby hero.
Maybe if he came on today, I could say that too.
Ooh, burn, sick burn.
Well, I tried to tell Sherry, I was like, Sherry, you're on tonight. Like, I'm still, like, not to dwell on it, still not feeling the greatest, but I'm like, Sherry, it's your turn. So in some point in the next 2 or 3 weeks, she needs to come on and be on camera, and I think she'll do great at it.
I don't think the people will be bothered by that at all. They'll be like, great job, Sherry. It's like, Sherry, just randomly, occasionally, just reach behind you, grab something off the shelf, and done. We're taking care of it. All right, good stuff. So we've actually counted. So we've gotten right about. I wanted to kind of keep this one tight tonight, but we've had a little bit of fun with the conversation. We covered some of the main topics du jour because we wanted to make sure we covered them. But the guys were at least somewhat versed in it, so we were able to chat about it a little bit. Just bear in mind a couple of things, reminders. It is a bulk submitter. So it's one of those things, if you're hoping to get disparagement for PSA around here, you're not going to get that. It's going to be an even-handed approach, the same as it is with the other graders. We are open to talking about them a little bit, but we're not going to disparage them either. That's why I say, when you guys asked some of the questions earlier, Hockey United, I mostly, Brad's nemesis. But the thing is, even with the tag thing, if you go listen to Friday's show, my answer is very different. Because we try to keep this a little bit even keel. The point here is to make sure that we give everybody their proper, their props. If there are things that we can question, we'll question them, but we'll question them lightly. It's not to disparage. That's not the goal here. Friday is for disparagement. So just bear that in mind.
Yeah. And it's good. And you have to, at the end of the day, you have to respect everyone's opinions, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Yes. And
that's very, very important. And I see all, not to dwell on it, but all the negativity online. Like, if you don't want to listen to it, just don't watch that. And if you want to watch it, then watch it. It's your choice at the end of the day. Like who you want to like and move forward.
Yeah. The other piece as well I want to remind everybody is that a lot of times when we watch a lot of these things, we're listening to one person's story, which, by the way, could be completely accurate. It's kind of the point that was made earlier tonight, because I don't have any reason to believe that Ty from Bench Clear changed any of the facts. I have no reason not to believe it, because I don't think he was being ridiculous about what he was saying. He didn't say that, they made fun of me on the phone and then they threw a shoe at me. No, they said, like, hey, we talked about it. We actually came to a deal. We came to an agreement. I'm not satisfied with some of the language in this contract. That was really the crux of it. That's really what it came down to. Which, by the way, is it's not an unreasonable thing. He goes, in my position, like, I'm not comfortable signing this. That's something they got to hash out amongst themselves. And by the way, there's a good possibility they will. They'll have to keep talking and figure something out and figure out a way to go forward. And as long as he gets his money in the end, I think that's the proper thing. But that's what you got to do. But the other piece of the puzzle as well is that PSA is the biggest player in the space. They're grading more cards per capita in the space. So the likelihood of problems is higher. It's a math problem. You submit 1 million cards in a month, even if a fraction of a percentage have a problem, that's hundreds of cards. 1%, a tenth of a percent is 1,000 cards. 1,000 times 1,000. Oh, 1,000 cars got messed up out of 1,000,000. Like there's a very big gap. That means 99.9% were fine. But for the people that had the 1,000, this is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. I'm totally with you. I get it. But you got to understand that. Like, do the math on that. And then the other graders are also going to have their own issues. And some of them will be publicized and some of them not. If they take care of it in a certain way, well, then the person's not going to go run and make a YouTube video about it. But it's also not going to draw as many clicks because it's like, who's going to get excited about that? Just bear in mind, like, none of them are perfect. And I've never seen any of them be perfect. And we're not saying the PSA was perfect in this one because I said there is some room for improvement here. I think there definitely is. And I think the bench clear guys in Ty did a good job reporting it from their perspective and giving their experience. And then everybody can judge from that. Cool. All right.
Agreed.
So hoping you bring the heat next week. Try. Always try. There you go. The Nemesis 2. Brad is all mine. Nobody dislikes him as much as me. But you know what Eric does like? On your way out, folks. By the way, thank you all for joining in the conversation. Appreciate you as always.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that Eric does like is when people hit the like button. Because he's sitting there going, I've got all this sweet, sweet Beckett money that I'd like to spend. We're not spending it on fixing the Jason Robertson price in the price guide. But we can spend it on the like button. I want you to think about that. It's okay though. As in the meantime, while that price hasn't been hiked up yet, it keeps it as a hashtag bargain so that Luke can get all the Jason Robertson because he says buy, buy, buy.
And it's funny, I don't actually have much of his stuff.
So you really are just pumping it up.
Yeah,
just to mess with baubles at this stage.
It's just my thoughts. I think he's gonna explode.
You know, I feel like there would have been more credibility to your statement if you had literally been on eBay, like hitting buy it now as you were talking. It's like, yes, I think it's going to go up a lot.
That's awesome.
Interesting. Very interesting how that turned out.
I'm not pumping nothing.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, I blame Hockey 99. He was the one who was so concerned about you saying, and then as soon as we let you start, you unleashed upon us. Hashtag invest advice. Just unleashed. And at that point, we couldn't stop you. There was nothing we could do. Anyway, all right, guys. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun tonight. Thank you all for hanging out in the chat. Great questions. If you do check this out on replay, and you got any questions or anything pertaining to it, I'll encourage the guys to be a little bit more mindful on the comments. But do remember that you can leave some comments in the videos themselves, and they will be checked out after. And if there is something really pertinent, I'll go back through the comments as well, and we'll touch on them in the following show. So like I said, feel free to throw it in the comment section. Otherwise, if you check it out later on, like if you like, subscribe to the channel. We did meet one of our goals, but I'd like to slowly creep up towards 250 subscribers, 300. So if you haven't already, subscribe. Otherwise, thanks very much, everybody. Have yourself a good evening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.